Warning, this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. What's the creepiest thing that you've seen other families do that they accept as totally normal? There was a family of girls I went to church with and none of them were allowed to cut their hair. They had to wait until they were 16 so they wouldn't get a haircut they'd regret, because the mother had. They also weren't allowed to talk at the dinner table. The mom was afraid of one of them choking and dying, so talking was banned. No one told me that when I came over for dinner. I just talked and they all stared at me. I went to this guy's house once after school. I wasn't friends with him, but we were assigned to a project together. We'll call him Gary. Anyways, we were working on this project when he excused himself to use the restroom. 15 minutes later he returned. I walked into the bathroom and behold, before my eyes, floating like a manatee through the brown estuaries of Florida, was the result of Gary's earlier bathroom excursion. Gary's mom gets home from work a couple hours later. She nods to us and says hello politely before heading towards the back of the house. A few seconds later she returns to the kitchen where we were working and screams, "Where is it?" I jump and I'm confused, so I shoot a WTF look to Gary. Gary later explained that every day after school he would take a dump and was required to leave it in the toilet so his mom could check it. He wasn't even sick or anything, she just wanted to check it to make sure he was healthy or something. I never went back to Gary's house. Not drinking anything with dinner. They would have dinner, then after dinner someone would bring out a pitcher of water and glasses and they'd sit around the table, all drink their glasses of water without talking, put them down, and walk away. Went to a friend's house when I was 17. She asked her mom for a snack and her mom brought out a huge raw white onion completely slathered in mayo on a plate and she and my friend just went at it with their forks like it was filet mignon. 3 years later and I still think about that SHT from time to time. I knew a girl in high school who had parents who were obsessed with dinner plates. They had such a huge collection of collectible plates in their house that every room was full of them on display. Their entire house was basically a library set up for these things. You couldn't even lean on any wall, they were all like this. The last time I went over there I knocked one off the wall by mistake. I caught it and it didn't even break, but my god, the rage her dad flew into was effing horrifying. He was inches away from punching me. The one time I asked my friend why they had so many, she went on a passionate tangent about all the cool plates they had and why they were so awesome. It went on for an hour. I never asked again because hearing about neat dishware for an hour was like torture. An old friend's mum was completely paranoid that Al-Qaeda would storm the small British town they lived in. Her solution? Have a massive bomb shelter built under their house. Not the weird part, though. By this, I mean she would genuinely buy out the whole supermarket. It would take her about 20 trips over a week. Not just canned food, but perishables, too. I only found this out by sleeping over on one of her shopping days, where food covered literally every single surface of their massive house. DFCK? The act itself isn't creepy, but I was very creeped out until I realized what was happening. After they finished and saw the look on my face, my so said they just said grace, but everybody is in a rush to eat, which is why I couldn't hear what they were saying. I thought they were going to sacrifice me. I am told it is a little disconcerting at first, but people warm up to my very mixed family. Here is the background. Both of my parents have divorced parents that never spoke to each other and never wanted to be like that when they divorced. So we have large family get-togethers where all my siblings and all my step-siblings hang out with my mom, dad, stepdad, and stepmom. We just all get along and we are from a small town. It's especially helpful because last year my stepmom was paralyzed from the chest down and my mom helps take care of her. I went to a friend's house and we put some cartoons on. While we were watching I asked him a question but he didn't respond. He was fixated on the TV, absolutely glued. His childminder just laughed, "Oh, he'll be like that all evening now." A friend from high school theater used to invite me over to her family's house all the time. Her mom collected large vintage dolls, like child-sized ballerinas, Victorian girls, and this one overly happy clown. They also collected and played didgeridoos as a family group. It sounds cool, but they were all pretty odd individuals. Encouraging their teen daughters to have kids as early and as often as possible because then they could live off welfare and child support and wouldn't need to work. They put milk first, cereal second. Creeps. My senior year in high school, I lived a town over so I would have to get a ride to and from school. Didn't have a license, That ride was always from my 50-year-old uncle that has been living off of my family since 2009. One day on the way home, we are driving down a road that has like a 15 miles per hour speed limit. I glance over at my uncle and he isn't even watching the road, he's looking somewhere off on the sidewalk. I notice we are about to drive past two girls that couldn't have been older than 13. We start to pass them, and sure enough his head turns as we pass them, looking back at them. I go, "You're a pedophile," this man says. Not yet. I went on a road trip with a friend's family one time. It was a 5-hour drive, and the entire time, no one spoke. It was completely silent. No music, no talking, nothing. And even though they had drank tons of liquids before getting in the car, no one had to pee during that 5-hour drive. Definitely has to be my neighbors. When I was younger, I hung out and played with these 3 siblings. They were all pretty normal kids, but the mom seemed kind of clingy. During the summer we would play outside a lot. Baseball, hockey, go-karts, swimming. The norm. Every single day at about 12, the mom would call the kids back to the house, one at a time. They would have to go inside for about a half hour, then come out and the next kid would go in. She had mandatory cuddle time with each of the kids. They would lay on the couch, and she would spoon them, in the quiet, for about 30 minutes each. Weirdest thing I've ever encountered. I went on vacation with my buddy when we were kids. They weren't religious, but before every meal they would all say the same chant about being a better person and trying your best. It was really creepy because they would all say it in the same monotone voice. It turned out the mom was just tired of everyone eating before she got to the table, so she made up the tradition. Something that I have witnessed for years only began to hit me as the realization slowly unfolded. A family that I visited frequently with all adult children who still live with their parents would coincidentally always have the same exact movie on every single time I visited. We had a family friend whose dad would take cuddling and kissing with his 2 daughters to another level. Like they're both in college now and they still sit on his lap, cuddle up and kiss him all over, cheeks, neck, lip pecks, etc., all in public. I know a woman who was a manager at the restaurant my wife worked at who was living through her 13-year-old girl to an extreme level. 90% of what she talked about with coworkers was her daughter's school drama. She would read her texts, give her strategies and things to say, etc., always trashing her appearance or telling her she needed to dress sluttier before going to the football game and weird SHD like that. Thinking eating ketchup packets for a snack was normal. F-king gross, and they would feed their middle school children baby food and they loved that shit. I have an ex whose family would literally burn any meat they cooked for dinner. Chicken, fish, steak, all completely burned. They were terrified about bacteria on their food. I got them to cook my steak medium well, less burned, but still above well, once, but I got some serious looks of disgust. The mother also forced me to draft a living will and instructed me on the proper way to seal a room to protect from a very likely chemical attack with duct tape and plastic sheeting. There was a weird kid in my neighborhood named Neil. He had a club foot. That's not what was weird, it's just sort of memorable. Anyway, we were invited to his birthday party down the street. His parents sent invites that we were to bring a present and $10 to cover the costs of hosting the party. My mom was annoyed and confused but sent us with the presents and the money. We had to give the money to Neil's parents before they let us in the house. We were each given 1 water balloon to throw, and exactly 1 slice of cake. Not that creepy, but my ex-boyfriend used to call his mom whenever he was stressed so that she could assure him that everything would be okay. He used to send her messages like, "Is everything going to be okay, Mom?" And she'd reply with, "Don't worry, you'll be okay." He was 28 at the time, and he got sent to a really cool destination for work for 2 weeks and spent the entire time moping about how much he missed his family. I loved my parents and all, but man. Tell everyone everything going on in their kid's life no matter how private it is. My family was that weird family. From like 3 to 7 I would only wear my underwear when I was home. I felt free and comfortable that way. My family acted like it was completely normal. I'm sure people thought we were weird as hell. I'm willing to out myself and my family. One day my then girlfriend, now wife, witnessed us putting sliced cheese on our donuts. Her face was disgusted. I was not aware other people don't do that until that moment. Also, it's delicious, so save your protests. Acknowledging and ignoring the teenage boy and his girlfriend obviously having sex in his bedroom. He walked out naked to yell at everyone to keep it down. I was the girl. Please stop being creepy with me, Reddit. I'm seeing a lot of overly affectionate families here, but my buddy gets to me with his lack of affection. Rather than mom or dad or something similar, he refers to his parents on a first-name basis. It's Stug and Karen. My family collected dead people cards. When my grandparents would go to funerals, they would get those obituary cards with pictures and stuff and collect them. I think it started out as getting them for memory purposes, but then they'd get them for other people, and it became like a card game. Like as one man's name was Hayes but they misspelled it as Hazel, and the ones before the funeral home reprinted them were kind of showed off as a novelty. I didn't realize it was weird forever, and mom's still in denial that it was weird. WTF. I had a friend whose family would never close, let alone lock the door even when taking a shit, so he'd be curling one out and his parents would come in and brush their teeth or whatever as if it was normal. I burst in on his mother having a piss one time and she just said won't be a minute. What? Not sure if this is creepy or just flat out disgusting. When I was about 14 or 15 I would go over to this girl's house, I am also female, and we would hang out, blah, blah, blah. One day she came out of her parents' room with something in her mouth. On. I kind of flipped SHD and asked her what the hell she was doing. She said her gums hurt, so she was massaging them. The bad/sad/disgusting/weird thing was that she didn't even know it was a vibrator. She found it in her parents' room one day and thought it was for your teeth/gums. On top of that, her parents knew she used it for that purpose because they walked in and talked to her while she had it in her mouth. I'm late to the party, but I want to share anyway. I once went to my friend's house for her birthday party. I was middle school age. The family was super weird. All the walls were painted these horrific pastel colors. Also, every single room had at least one photograph of Jesus, if not multiple. Anyway, we're all hanging out at the party, and the mother comes up to me and very sternly tells me she would like a word with me. First she was mad at me because we do not swear in this house. Okay. But I said geez. Second, we do not frown in this house. But not frowning. Jokes on those weirdos, because my parents bought that house several years later. We didn't even realize it until after the fact. We curse and frown all the live long day. Fuck you, Mrs. Shepherd. I went to elementary school with this really nice girl. She was the eldest of 4 girls, all perfectly healthy and beautiful. Kids were laughing at her because she was smelling really bad. She was in the church at 6 a.m. every morning and spent a lot of time there, always praying to have a son. Well, the miracle happened and she had a son. That's all they could talk about. It was like Jesus himself was reborn. It was weird. Maybe 2 to 3 ago I saw her in the bus. Ooh, this is actually abuse, and my mom did call CPS on them, but I'll say it anyway. We knew a family growing up that the father would time their showers, literally 15 seconds under cold water. He would stand there and watch and then grab them out, one after the other. They were not allowed to poop in the house. He had toilet paper for emergencies and guests. If they had to poop, he would pass them 5 squares of TP total, and watch them wipe. They trained themselves to only poop at school and church. Summer would get to be 100 and still not there, or fans in their bedroom, no open windows, probably about 20 more insane rules. Weird food rules. Very, very, very sad. My longtime friend growing up, she and her sister would walk around their house completely naked in front of their little brothers, dad and uncle. We were 15 at the time. I used to have to go overnight to my babysitter's house since my dad worked the midnight shift. When it came time for a bath, they would run the water. Dad would have a bath, then mom, then the oldest girl, then the 2 little ones, without ever draining and running new water. They would just each bathe in each other's dirty water. A white woman, with 2 white sons, 2 adopted young black children and no husband, used to come into this fast food place I worked at. The mother and sons looked straight out of the 50s, her adopted children did not look as well kept. The sons would come up, order the same thing every time. Same for the mom, same thing every single time. She would always point to her adopted children and say, "They don't need anything. Please don't give us anything for them. We once paid for 2 kids' meals for them." She was furious. They would return to the table, and would demand we bring them their food. Seriously, it would sit there for 20 minutes if we didn't bring it out to them. They would pray, eat, sit there for ages and leave. The black kids always looked so sad. I never understood why she refused them food. Growing up, my best friend's family didn't have traditional snacks like fruit roll-ups, gushers, etc. They ate sticks of butter. Sticks of f***ing butter. Whenever they offered me some, I always told them I wasn't hungry. They had multiple packages of butter in the fridge and freezer. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.